Welcome to the Legends of Iron. I'm John Anderson. Meet my co-hosts, Nick Best and Akeem Williams. We're going to have some amazing guests on the show. Buckle up tight, because we're going to be talking about the shit you're not supposed to be talking about. We're going to be discussing anything and everything it takes to become a Legend of Iron.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by Muscle Mints. Muscle Mints is the creator of Carnivore Pure Beef Protein Isolate. Beef builds muscle, and Carnivore is the world's #1 selling beef protein. And don't forget to try our new Carnivore flavor, Rocket Pop.
Oh, damn. Whoa, this is it right here.
Wow, is this protein? Delicious.
This is too good to be protein. Woo, we about to change the game with this one.
You're gonna love it. Welcome to another edition of Legends of Iron. I am John Anderson. With me, always my partners in crime, Nick Best and Akeem Williams. We have got a killer show for you today. We've got one of the world elite in the house. We have a guy who just had a breakout performance at the Arnold. Even better, he was an alternate, which gives him even that much more credibility, basically showing up, not even knowing he's going to compete, and then coming out and just blowing it up. Awesome stuff. We are so excited to welcome Bobby Thompson to the show. What's up, my brother? How you doing?
Not much, guys. Doing all right. Staying busy. Happy to be here.
I love it,
Bobby. What's up,
buddy? Hey, man. I'm doing well. Dude, you know that followed me to Dubai. That followed me to Dubai.
That's awesome.
Nick, I love you, but I hate you.
But brother, let's dive right into the most exciting shit. The Arnold just went by. You showed up as an alternate, which means you're there, but you don't really know you're going to compete. You get the word and you show up, you jump in the mix, and you just fucking blow the place up in a very good way. Talk us through that. So you show up knowing it's a possibility. Just kind of take us through how it went in your mind.
You know how it went in my mind? I was aware that I was an alternate for quite some time, but it was very much back and forth because of the Russia and Ukraine situation, who's coming, who's not. Jan Todd was kind of keeping me updated, but she really didn't know. And then 2 days, 2 days before I was supposed to leave, I got the final call saying, hey, like, Mateus can't make it, he's injured. I was like, okay. And it really, my switch was already flipped. I needed to be ready. But it's very difficult to be in that state of alert and ready to go when you don't know if there's an end to it. It's very draining. It's very difficult. And then, I showed up on contest day. I don't think I had my best performance. I definitely left some stuff on the table. Some opportunities to put myself into potentially lone third instead of a tie for third, maybe even second. But all in all, I can't be upset. I performed. The guys did well.
You performed extremely well, brother. Don't undersell. Don't sell yourself short here. You fucking rocked the house, brother. And I'm not afraid to say it. You fucking killed it, man.
I appreciate that, but Nick and I'm sure all you guys will confirm as well that placing well is only cool for about 15 minutes. and then it's kind of like, all right, like that was cool, but it's gone now, so I got to go do something else.
Yeah.
Time to get back to work.
Yeah, gotta find the top of that podium, of course. So
exactly.
So talk us.
He's definitely one of those guys that just he don't live in the moment, huh? As soon as
okay. It gets its time and then it's done. I'm ready to go.
That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. I guarantee he's only looking behind himself if he's trying to fix a mistake. He's always looking ahead. What's next to conquer? Is that about right, brother?
That's exactly right. And I had a contest the weekend after the Arnold. I had to go to Texas, and then I fly to Leeds tomorrow. So I've got so much going on that there's no time. It was cool. It was great. I'm proud of what I did. And it did really give me a lot of notoriety, and I feel like it was a great statement for 2022 as a start. But that was 3 weeks ago. Really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I know you're looking past it, but for our listeners and even us, we're excited to hear you talk us through the contest event by event. Because that's I mean, that was a very unique contest, new events, and unfortunately some big injuries. So take us event by event. Tell us what you saw. What were you feeling? I mean, the place was electric.
It was electric. It was probably the coolest arena I've ever been in.
Yeah.
The Arnold
to the next level.
Oh, 100%. They really did. The first event being the max squat, that was a rough prep for me. I had 2 severe strains, 1 in each brachialis. So so I couldn't, there were a couple days I didn't brush my teeth because I couldn't do it. Yeah. So, and then having log, circus dumbbell, or the monster dumbbell, and then back squat in the same contest, you're ruining your brachialis just day after day after day. So
let's not forget about the stone either.
Yeah.
Stones weren't really an issue for me. And it was really when I was in this position and I was being jarred downward. That's when I had issues. But, in the squat alone, I went through 3 squat suits. So I blew out, deadlift suits. I squat in a conventional deadlift suit. I don't wear squat suits. But I blew out my first one, which was kind of my old faithful. I was like, shit. So then
I ordered contest?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, holy shit.
Oh no, this kid. Yeah. So I blew it out in training, and I was like, well, got away with that. Went to get it repaired. It started blowing out again. Ordered another suit. Got it. And then found out I couldn't have Velcro straps on my suit. So then I had to order another suit. Oh. And I got to my 3rd session in that suit was that event.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So, and it was, it was a rough ride. It was a good day. I made some very beginner mistakes on the equipment. One, I did not make a big enough deal about safety precautions on the monolift. As an athlete, I should have done that. We had to work with them having one space selected for the hooks for everybody. Which doesn't exactly. Nick's shaking his head no.
Yeah, but that's a big problem. Big problem for tall guys,
So Nick, that was the issue. They couldn't adjust those hooks without unloading the bar. Yes. Yes. So
the bar.
And then when you squat with that bar, I had some work with a bow bar, which was similar. But when you squat with the double T-bar and you hit the pads, it jolts you forward. So you had to correct for that a little bit. And then, quite frankly, I just got too excited. My blood pressure spiked, and I started getting really dizzy. I was unconscious for the top. Oh no, excuse me. I was almost unconscious for the top of 830. I have no memory of locking out 900, and then 946. It was just kind of, we're going to go for broke and hope this works. And
when your memory comes back, hopefully you're standing up with the bar on the hooks.
With 900, when things started kind of going, my last memory I have was lock your knees out and pray. Like, just get every joint you have in a straight line, and gravity will keep you in place. And I got lucky, and it played out well. That led us into, I believe, the circus dumbbell, which is a monster dumbbell, which is a thicker handle. I'm capable of a 300-pound circus dumbbell if it's a normal circus dumbbell. I wasn't able to map that piece of equipment effectively and quickly enough just because I touched one on one other occasion. It was 50 pounds lighter. So those dumbbells, their handles are significantly thicker than a normal circus dumbbell. So if you can't map the equipment, you're kind of in trouble. So that's what got me there. And then going into log press, I had real high hopes for 480. Luke and I are always kind of like right there. It's like, who's going to try and jump too big to get over the next one? So when Luke Stoltman came in and hit 470, I was like, okay, I need this event win. So I made a shot at 480. Didn't quite have the lockout, just wasn't there. I believe partially because I'd only been able to do singles on log, squat, and dumbbell with my brachialis, my elbows leading up to that event. So I really didn't have time to develop much volume and work capacity for that. So not making excuses, but it definitely played a role. And then JF,
you're just explaining how everything went, brother. This is not this is not you making an excuse. This is you just giving us an inside look at how the shit really went down.
Oh yeah.
Well, and Bobby's also the best log presser in America. He's got the American record. So I mean, if anybody's, he's the best guy for the log in the United States right now.
I mean, brother, remember, You couldn't brush your teeth and you still competed. Days before, you're having a hard time brushing your teeth and you still competed. There's no excuse in this stories anywhere. You know?
that is fair. But yeah, and the log went how it went. I have no complaints. I looked at it as a big technical win because that clean with 480 was probably the most flawless clean with that weight that I've had. So I was very happy with how that clean went. But then with the Rogue dumbbell, just wasn't a great event for me. I was excited for it, but then I realized, like, shit, I can't map this thing. Like, I can't figure out just where I need to be. And that bit me in the ass a little bit and gave some guys some wiggle room, some points to kind of slide in. And then we moved over. Gosh, what came next? I believe that, yes, then the frame came next. The frame, I had done really well in training with it, but I think just by the time I got to it, my central nervous system was kind of fried out. And that frame, it tore my hands up pretty bad. It ripped me pretty thick on both hands. And once blood gets on the bar, it's slick. It's not going to work. The first time I dropped it was because both hands tore. And then that was 18 feet of Bobby's going to learn a whole lot about himself. It's really good. Once I dropped it, I knew what had happened. I was like, I'm not going to look at him. I'm not going to look at him because I already know what that was. And then it was a whole bunch of words that I didn't even think I knew. It's a really good thing I wasn't mic'd up. It was like I'm known for working, like hanging out with kids at contests. Like that's what I like being known for. I like hanging out with the kids. And I was just thinking, like, God, if I had been mic'd up, that would never have been a thing again. And then the stone to shoulder. That was rough. Stones are not a strong event for me. They've gotten better over the years, but a natural stone doesn't really have much, or an Atlas stone doesn't carry over into a natural stone very well. As we saw with Trey Mitchell struggling, Tom Stoltman struggling, even Luke Stoltman struggling the way he did. Luke's a damn good stone loader too. People just forget that. But I didn't know this, but apparently there is a front and back to that stone. Apparently there is like an accepted method. I wasn't aware of this, and I'm so bad with anything stones that after the second time I dropped it, I was like, I'm going to do the opposite of what I thought was the right thing. We're going to see how this goes. So I spun it, got hooked up, and picked it up. And once I knew I got it off the ground, I wasn't really concerned about getting it to my shoulder. I've got really broad shoulders. I've got a big upper back. I've got a lot of what's called squeeze strength. So I knew once I got it got my arms wrapped around it, it wasn't going anywhere. So that was a hellacious moment when I dropped it. I almost just walked away after the first time. I wasn't going to try again. I was like, you know what? Like that's a lot more than I thought was about to happen. But then they had this nice little rule where you had to put it back on the platform. So it was kind of right. So which I get because there have been some big issues with that throughout the years. So that threw me off a little bit, but with the way the point shook out, I was one rep on the dumbbell away. That log, if I tied Luke on log press, if I carried the frame 3 more feet, I would have to have squatted another 30 pounds, which I probably had in me under different circumstances, but not that day. Or if I had taken that stone to my chest one more time, I would have had outright third, potentially even second place. So there were a lot of like one rep situations that it was kind of like shit. Like, damn.
Well, it's always just a few little things that can make the difference. And a good thing for you, brother, you had a handful of little things that it really shows you that you were just a couple of small moves away from being like right at the top, which is pretty fucking awesome. You know what I mean? I agree.
That's my coach said the same thing. And then my whole team was under that very same impression, said the same thing. I did have a moment after the log press thing where I was like, damn it, like I legitimately believe I'm the best log presser in the world. Like that is there for me. I just haven't executed it yet, which hurts even more. So I had my moment and walked away, and my chiropractor came over and worked on my elbow. And then I walked past Stoltman. I looked up at him. He was standing there with Dan Hipkiss, his coach. And I walked up, and he went, Bobby, and gave me a hug. And I looked at him. I was like, I beat you because I missed bigger than you did.
Now, how far away are you from the world record in terms of the log press?
Depends on the day, man. I have
26 pounds.
Officially 26 pounds.
Striking distance for sure, you know.
Well, I've beaten the American record in training before.
Okay.
So that's kind of my thing, and I haven't told anyone what my best log is. What my best log has been in training. Like that's something I'm keeping in my back pocket because I don't want people to know. I want them to only think I can log press 478.5. That's the current American record. I want them to think that's all Bobby can do.
Gotcha.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So when you show up and lay down the big one, everybody's going, where the fuck did that come from?
When 480 falls in contest, there will be a streamline to the world record. It may not happen that day, but when 480 falls for me in contest, it's going to be another hop and a skip, and then it'll probably be 510.
Bam! Just like that, baby.
Yeah, I already know. I already know I can clean a 500+ pound log. Like I already know I can clean it. It's just a matter of getting comfortable and being able to press it.
Yeah.
Being able to strict press it because he doesn't use his legs very much.
I've gotten better. I've gotten better. I've gotten better.
Shoulder power.
It's all upper strength. Wow, that's impressive, man.
Yeah, well, it's scary.
It is impressive still, regardless. It's impressive.
It's gotten me. I will say my ability to strict press has gotten me out of a lot of hot water in contest.
That's just straight. That's just straight up old school horsepower right there. Yeah. That's just horsepower.
It's like guys that just use all their back and lower back and just deadlift and no legs whatsoever.
Yeah,
that's freaking impressive.
It's gotten me in a little bit of trouble, but overall, it's definitely been a gift.
Nick, as you as you say that, you realize you described Nick's deadlift perfectly. he just gets his feet real close up to the bar, bends way the fuck over the top of it, it just straight up. It's just he just starts fucking cranking, and it just starts coming up,
Pretty much.
I can't, Nick. I can't defend your deadlift other than it works. It just works.
It's exactly. You can't argue with the numbers. However they get there, they're there.
They get up. Yeah, exactly.
It works. My back's okay.
Yes, it works. Your back's okay. You can deadlift 500 pounds for 20 reps at the end of a session. I mean, it's really hard to tell somebody they're wrong at that point.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, when someone's that good, you can't really tell them that they're doing it wrong.
Well, it's more like when they're that old, you can't tell them they're doing it wrong.
Oh shit! Oh, I love it.
Man,
I love it.
Or we just don't listen. One of the two.
I love it.
Nick, how's your hand doing, Nick?
My what?
How's your hand?
What?
You don't remember Worlds 2020 where you came up behind me when I was eating and wrapped me up in a choke?
Oh shit!
So
my hand's fine. My hand's fine.
So I was sitting at a high top table. It was a butter knife.
Oh, butter.
It was a butter knife. So I wasn't aware it was Nick, and I had a mouthful of food, and Nick comes up and puts me in a rear-naked choke when I'm seated, and I knew I was gotten. I knew he had gotten me, but I didn't know it was him. And I bounced for 10 years in some very violent places, so a reaction is a thing. So I reached out and grabbed the first instrument I could, and I started digging into his hand. I was like, "Fuck, it's only a butter knife, but somebody's gonna let me go." And then I realized it was Nick. I was like, I peeled his as I peeled his skin up, and I'm like, "Oh God." But what was funny is that my pocket knife was sitting within inches of that butter knife.
Oh.
So
that would have been a different hand left behind for Nick, for sure.
To this day, I still feel bad about that. To this day.
I forgot about it.
Because it's Nick Best. Because at the time, you were still sponsored by Cerberus. So I sent Ken Nowicki, who owns Cerberus USA, I sent him a message saying, "I just fucked up. You're going to kick me off the team." So he goes, "Why? What happened?" I just stabbed Nick Best. And then he calls me. He's like, "What the fuck did you do?" I was like, "I just stabbed Nick Best." Then I explained it to him. I was like, "I feel so bad. This is the nicest guy ever. I stabbed him." Of all the times in my life, I stabbed like a 75-year-old man, Nick. That's never fine.
Oh my God! I tell you, you gotta love it when we have the young bucks come on. They are just digging on Nick about the old folk jokes.
I'm digging on Nick because he called me Gimli at Clash of the Coast where I set the American world record, and it followed me to the Middle East. It followed me to Dubai. There were memes made. People were sending me photos. I was like, oh, God damn it. It's like, God damn it, man.
There's something about a nickname. When it works, it just fucking sticks. You know?
Kimberly works for him, too.
No. Well, it's because in strongman, if you're not 6'5", you're 5'6". Like, I'm 6'1". I'm not a short person. I am above average height. But then
brother,
you get to it.
I lived in that world too. I lied about my fucking height the whole time I competed. You know?
Yeah, but I'm not. No. The doctor even says I'm 6'1". It's not a lot.
John, you did.
Yeah.
So, John, what did you say your height was, John?
Oh, fuck. I mean, if I said it was too much, they'd fucking rap me out on the TV. Colin Bryce said, oh, he says he's 6'1", but I don't think he's 6'1" when I walked out. I'm like, Jesus, Colin. Thanks, Jesus Christ. You're supposed to be making the show better here, you know?
So at the Shaw Classic, the announcer called me Stocky. I'm like, you son of a bitch. And he's a nice dude. Well, the same, and then at the, and then at the Arnold, the same announcer, the same guy called me Compact. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, these are adjectives that could go either direction.
Exactly. Yeah.
You like an adjective that can't be misunderstood. He's a brick shit house. That's better than compact.
Right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's fucking horrible. So then somebody told me it's how broad my shoulders are and how like thick front to back I am. They're like, you just look like you'd be short. And I was like, okay, well, fuck off.
It's probably the one thing.
Go ahead, Doc.
I was just saying, it's probably the one thing in powerlifting that actually matters. You know, height matters in powerlifting, right?
Well, yeah. So height matters. Yes, yeah. So you're right, but in powerlifting, you want to be short.
Okay.
And in strongman, like I said, you're either 6'5" or 5'6". There's no in between.
Yeah. Okay. Because they're, fucking nowadays you got these fucking guys that are. Everybody that's over 6'5" has got arms like eternity long, so they can wrap their arms around everything. Like way back in the day, Phil Pfister was the only guy who had those wingspans, and he could literally lock his fucking hands around the back of a 365 stone, or excuse me, a 380 stone. Everybody else was like, talking like 9 inches between fingertips, and this fucker is doing this around just straight on the back. Well, the advantage that you have when you can lock your hands around the back of something is just unbelievable in the sport of strongman.
I if I can get my arms, even though like I don't have short arms, but again, thick front to back, it shortens your levers. So if I can get some kind of resemblance of wrapped around something, it's not going anywhere. But where it gets me is on throwing events. And I remember Jan Todd was asking if I would do the weight over bar for the record breaker event at the Arnold. I was like, Jan, who has that record currently? And she goes, Thor. And I was like, how tall am I? I was like, yeah. Or then like at Worlds last year where they're doing the keg over bar, and then it's like Brian walks up, and I'm like, he's there. He's like, no. Like, this is stupid. Put him in a hole and give me a stool. Like,
okay.
There are pros and cons to it.
Brother, while we're talking about this whole thing of shorts and short arm spans, one of the questions I was going to ask you was, explain one of your. We've all had them in the a moment in a contest that was just motherfucker. How did that fucking go wrong? You know what I mean? Because you always have those. I'm going to follow this up with what was your greatest memory, but let's start off with what motherfucker. How did that happen? Talk to us about that moment.
Oh wow, how did that happen? There's been so many.
Pick the one that's the most entertaining. Give us the most entertaining of the group. How's that?
So, okay, got you. So in 2019, I believe, I want to say it was 2019 or the start of 2020, I went to the Arnold Canada. That was my first, like, kind of big pro show. I'd been to Lithuania already. It was a little bit smaller. Well, then they sent us to the Arnold Canada. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go rock this. This is going to be great. And I had been throwing sandbags, and I had just come off a win at the OSG where I took second in a throwing event I'd never thrown before. And I was like, oh, like, I'm actually just kind of okay at this kind of event. It's like, this will be great. Man, it was my first time throwing kegs, and I missed this keg, grabbed it again, and grabbed it weird, and went to throw it. And it was a 50 or 55-pound keg. Right about the time it got chest level, the keg goes straight out, my feet go straight up.
Oh. Did you land on the back?
I landed on the back of my head. I am in an arena that is, There's 4,000 people. There's 4,000 people in the stands in Warwick, and I'm just laying there looking up at the sky, going, "What the fuck?" I was like, "How did we get here?"
That's a good what the fuck story, brother. That's pretty fucking good.
What direction did the keg go though? That's what I was asking.
It went straight. It went straight right at the camera guy. It went straight right at the camera guy.
When you say you're looking up, I thought he was coming back down on top of you.
No. So right about the time that was like released right here at step level, the keg just goes straight out.
Okay.
Both my feet go up, and I popped up and went to grab the keg and try again. But I was a little too cocky because I won the first event at that contest. I beat out Evan Singleton, Jeff Caron, Avars, a couple really good guys on a yoke event. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm good at this. This is good. And then I took like third on the Viking press, and I'm like the new kid, and it's like, oh, geez, like that's 2 events, a first and a third finish for the new guy. And then I ended up screwing up. I have a bone fusion in both feet, so I screwed that up on the truck pole. And I get to the keg event, I'm like, okay, like I'm going to make up some ground. Like I'm going to make up some ground here. Nope. No, man.
Brother, I know why it happened. I know why it happened. After I hear the story, I can tell you why it happened. You're too compact.
John.
You're too stocky. What was that? Was that the other one, stocky?
That was the other. Yes, that was the other verb. That was you.
That's it. That announcer nailed it. It was just those 2 adjectives what summed it up. Shit.
The best part though is he completely underestimates the crowd at Warwick. It's like 20,000 people. I mean, the stands are full. The whole town's there.
Yep.
The grandstands alone. I mean, it's just people everywhere. So to do that, there's a lot of people there.
Yeah, oddly enough,
I can get it.
Yeah, like oddly, that was more. Yeah, there may have been more. That was so long ago, and quite frankly, I'd never seen that many people in one place before. So I was looking around, and I was like,
dude, in Canada, they come out for those contests, man. It's almost like there's nothing to do. So there's so few choices. Oh shit, there's a contest, and not to mention they fucking love that shit up there.
Well, Canada is really sports oriented. They're a very sports oriented country. And the closer you get to kind of like the French Canadian provinces, which Warwick is, it's a completely French Canadian speaking or French speaking province for the most part. The closer you get to Quebec, the bigger it gets, just because of Louis Cyr being from there. Jeff Caron lives there. So that was a cool experience. That was cool.
All right, brother. So now go to the flip side. What was the best fuck yeah moment? We have the goddamn it moment. Now let's go to the other side. Let's talk about the hot fucking A. That was fucking awesome. That was the best moment. That moment in strongman that it's like you just want that feeling back.
That shouldering that stone at the Arnold.
Oh, that's fucking great, brother.
Wow.
That's great.
Shouldering that just because it's something that even Laws mentioned it when he was commentating. I'm not somebody who's looked at as a versatile athlete. I'm that guy. Like if it's a static event, Bobby's got a shot, and I don't really understand why. I move pretty well. I've got a damn decent grip.
It's just you're just too compact, brother.
Fair. But when I shouldered that stone, it was kind of like a moment of like, okay, guys, like I'm here to play. Like this is stupid, and it just seems that people
is so
forgot.
Fucking awesome that you had that moment on the fucking big stage like the Arnold. That's really fucking cool, man. Totally was fucking awesome, man.
It was definitely the location, not so much the event. It was the location that made it worth it. And it wasn't a deadlift. It wasn't a log press event. Yeah. But for some reason in the sport of strongman, people, they assume that I can only log press and deadlift. No matter how many times I do finish a medley that most guys don't, or about the only thing you need to sell me short on is Atlas stones. But shouldering that stone was kind of an indicator to the crowd, like, okay, the kid's been doing some work behind the scenes. So
that's killer, brother.
I got a question for Bobby though.
What you got, man?
After an event like the Arnold, how much calories are you putting down after the show?
I don't
beat up your body so bad and
post contest. I can't eat for like 2 days. I can't eat for like 2 days post contest.
So you one of those kind of guys.
I am, yeah. Eating has become very difficult for me. It was. I don't want to blame it on COVID, but I caught COVID before it was COVID, and it was it was in 2020, and I was up to 373 pounds for the Arnold.
Okay.
I was big and I was strong, and then I COVID, and then I lost like 25 pounds, and then ever since then I haven't been able to eat the way I used to. Which
I definitely know how you feel, because that's one of the reasons why I didn't do the Arnold this year. Actually,
Yeah.
I had COVID right after Christmas, and I lost like 25 pounds also. So I understand how you feel.
Yeah, it was rough. And then, like I said, just having, well, I hope you have better luck coming back from it than I have. But I'm lucky enough that, with that being said, recently there's a gentleman in town, Dr. Jericho Matthews. He's kind of picked me up. He's become one of my best friends, dare I say, and he's reworked my diet. We've not reworked my training so much, but my recovery methods, and he's been a big help. So, and believe it or not, removing rice from my diet made everything significantly easier. I live on sweet potato fries.
I'm telling you, it's all about your diet. It's what you can digest. If you can figure out what you digest, that's the fucking ticket. Because clearly you digest sweet potato better than rice. But until you figure that shit out, eating is such a fucking chore. You know.
Well, it was. And I've lost 8 pounds since we made the switch. But I'm not as bloated all the time. I'm getting more food in.
Okay.
And it was just.
You only lost a few pounds because your metabolism is speeding up, because your digestion speeds up, which feeds your metabolism. You'll end up coming back. You'll end up going up.
Oh yeah.
But right now you're clearing out that bloat, and all that shit that was in there is burning through.
Well, and that's exactly what it was. Is I was literally taking a shit finally. That's like the bloat was gone, and then I was really concerned about what that was going to do for my deadlift coming into Worlds with a ladder. And then 2 weeks ago, I just loaded up after squats, and I was like, let's see what I can do. Just kind of load up, work to a mediocre single, and see how I feel. And I pulled 887 after squatting, and I was like, okay. I was like, okay. So
when the bloat goes away, you're going to start performing so much better, because when you're bloated like that, your body's not absorbing the nutrient value. That bloat is telling you there's a problem. So by getting that bloat to go away, even if you're a few pounds lighter, you're going to start to perform. And I'm talking about strength. You know, you're going to start getting stronger, even if you're a few pounds lighter, because now you got the nutrient upload, which is what the body needs to recover and move forward.
Well, there's I mean, obviously, if your body's holding on to a bunch of excess calories, you're bloated. The majority of your blood flow is going to your stomach, trying to deal with that digestion issue. So alone, my work capacity capabilities have gone up just from not being a bloated sack of shit all the time. Like, dare I say, and I'm like, okay, this is great. So it's definitely great to have that and that person behind me added to my team.
Good.
So, yeah,
that's great news, brother. Great news. I'm telling you, when an athlete figures out what food he digests efficiently, that's a fucking game changer for an athlete, period.
100%.
You know, and so many athletes never figure it out.
I know. I that's why I was trying to tell Nick, stop eating all those burritos, man.
I digest them fine. I'm not bloated at all.
Okay, hold up. Let's talk about this though. Nick, are you retired from strongman officially? Are you done with strongman? Okay. But you're at least, I would say, 6 to 7 months of good work away from being in fighting shape for strongman, right?
For world's strongest man level, yeah.
That's what I'm. So you've got 6 to 7 months. You've already got married to a hot wife. You don't have any contests coming up. You could be a bloated piece of shit. It's not a big deal.
Well, thank you very much, Bobby. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm very fortunate. I will say this.
I mean,
but I got a contest in July 23rd.
What are you doing?
Going to do. Chad Coy's putting on a Masters contest for Clash.
In July, he asked me if I could come out and do the announcing, but fuck, I'm going to be in my cabin in Tahoe, the same fucking 2 week span that contest. Bob's bummed out. I'm like, shit.
I mean, it's cool. Chad Coy asked you for a favor, and you're choosing to go on vacation. It's fine, man. Hey, you're good. You're good, dude.
Wow, John. Oh, John.
It's not really a vacation. This is what I do.
We could do the show from there too, John.
That's right. I'll still be working. I don't ever take vacation because I do what I want every day. Every day's a vacation, brother. I just change locations. Like right now, I'm at my house in Mexico, and late next week, I'll be back up at my place in California. Unfortunately, the time I was supposed to be at Chad's, I'm going to be at my fucking cabin in Tahoe. What can you say? You know? I
mean, well, what I can say in court, the man who spends more than 30 seconds trying to convince everybody else he's innocent means he's guilty. So
I was feeling like I was doing a little much too convincing in that spiel. I'll agree with you.
Slap and let it go.
No, then I'll come back and do OSG.
I thought I was going to have to do. I thought I was going to do OSG this year. I thought about it. I did, just to kind of come back and because OSG is where I qualified for my first Giants Live event in Indiana. So I thought about. I highly considered it, and I still may do it next year just for funsies, but just kind of got to see how I feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
This year alone, I've already got way too many contests set up. So.
So let me ask you another question, brother. Talk to us about, you've had some, I love the stories of the goddamn it moment and the greatest moment. Now talk to us about, because obviously we really want to be inspiring for our listeners. So talk to us about a situation that you had to overcome, and there's probably many of them, but again, pick the one that's the most entertaining because, people that are trying to get into the sport, they always find reasons that get in their way when in essence, reasons are kind of like excuses, but we've all had those stories that display that there is no reason or an excuse that gets in the way when you really want it. So give us one of those.
So it's gonna be two because it's always the Arnold Classic for me. The Arnold Classic preps for me are the most atrocious experiences I will ever have, and I don't think it gets worse every year, but it's always something different. In 2020. I completely ruptured my distal bicep tendon 7 weeks out of the Arnold Classic. That was my first big pro show. So that's why, that is not why I placed the way I did, but it definitely affected because I didn't get surgery. I duct taped it down, put some sleeves on. I couldn't really train for those 6 weeks. All I could do was deadlift. So 2020, that was rough. But then 8 weeks out of the Arnold 2020, my uncle died suddenly and I had to say goodbye over the phone.
Oh, Jesus.
So, and my uncle, there was a point in time where it was my dad, myself, and my uncle, and we were the only thing keeping each other together. So we were very close. So that happens, and then it's like, that was one of those moments where, like, after 8 weeks out, that happens, and then 7 weeks, my bicep comes off, on frame. I dropped that frame, I just kind of stood there. I was like, do I even need to be doing this anymore? Like, what is the point? But getting past it, going to the Arnold, accepting that I was not going to perform at my best. I learned, it was one of those situations, like I said, with the frame, I learned a lot about myself in that 18 feet.
Yeah.
Like it was just that same situation. Those 6 weeks, I learned more about myself than I ever thought I was going to. And then the Arnold this year, I actually started that prep with a fractured rib, and then a fractured hand. I had deadlifted not too long before the Arnold, before I got my alternate invite. I pulled a 1025 in a suit just on a whim in the gym one day. I was like, I want to try it. Let me see if I can do this. And I forgot to put my belt on.
Jeez. You forgot to put your belt on.
Yeah, so I forgot to put my belt on. I pulled it, but instead of blowing out into my belt, we believe what I did was contracted inward and it turned into, basically not having that sensation pushing in. I didn't think to blow out. So instead, I contracted inward and I fractured one of my ribs. And then it was a freak. It was a freak accident. One of my figure 8 straps fractured. There was a substantial stress fracture on the outside of my hand. So it was kind of like shit. So that started my Arnold prep. And then I had this situation where I went through all 3 of those suits, bam, 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 one after the other. And then I go in to help a group of guys that were squatting equipped in my gym. And one of them, I shit you not, full sat on my head on a box because he had gotten in the rack, he had gotten in the mono, had his headphones on. I put my hand on his back. I was like, "Don't move, I'm fixing your box." He had pushed his box too far under himself, so he pushed his box too far under himself, and he would have fallen off the back if he had squatted on it. So I bent over to move the box, and he did a dry squat to try and find his box. I guess he didn't hear me unless I was moving it for him, and he comes down right on top of my head. So it's ass, head, box.
What part of your face hit the? Was it your face that hit the box?
Out of my head. Out of my head.
I mean, if it had smashed your face, I could have broken your nose.
Yeah. This story gets better. One of the guys that was helping me get into my suit, learn how to use the suit, was a gentleman by the name of Alfredo Barrera. And Alfredo is one of the most gifted, equipped squatters in the kind of the 181, 220 area. Most nights he would out squat me. I've got over 100 pounds on him. Just very gifted in equipment, right? So Alfredo comes back for his set after laughing at that, swings his belt behind him, and hits me in the dick. We're talking 3 minutes span here, people. Within 3 minutes, my head's been sat on. I've been slapped in the dick. I was like, God damn it. So I was like, okay. So then I go home. I'm resting. I'm relaxing. Everything's good to go. I come out to my car the day before. I'm getting my last minute things done. The day before I leave, I come out to my car. Flat tire. Just got those tires 2 months ago on my car.
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Dude, are you walking everywhere in bubble wrap right now?
Dude, it is just the Arnold. It is just the Arnold. So, this
rains
gets
and
better.
pours, man. Holy shit, it keeps going.
Oh yeah. On the way to, I drive. My parents live 15 minutes from the airport. I live like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So a lot of times, I'll leave my car there, and then they'll fly. They'll drive me from their place, so I don't have to pay to leave my car at the airport. On the way to their house, I get an alert. Must serve a steering system now on my car. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So in my thoughts, I thought it was saying like the power steering was like, you need power steering fluid, your power steering's going out. I'm like, oh, I'm strong enough to turn a steering wheel. I had to do it with one of my old trucks. I'm not worried about that. I get home to my vehicle. I drive from the airport. I'm home for 1 day, go out and try and start it. My steering wheel won't even turn. I've been home for 1 day. So that was my Arnold prep and finish.
Wow.
So how's your World's prep going?
Not terrible. I have a strained abductor, which we're working on right now. It's not really an issue though. My World's prep won't start full gear until the day after I get back from Leeds, which so I fly out tomorrow. Like I'm already in good shape, so I just really need to refamiliarize with some of the stuff and kind of work on with something like Worlds. Nick, I'm sure you guys have caught on as well. John, I know you're not a stranger to this. It's a more athletic contest than the Arnold Classic.
Yeah. Arnold is heavy, and not a lot of moving. Worlds, you never know, man. You'll be trotting all over the place,
Exactly. Which I was already in really good shape. Like I wasn't in good Arnold. I was in good shape for the Arnold, but I wasn't in peak Arnold condition. Like to be in peak Arnold condition, I would have wanted to come in about 360 is where I would have wanted to be. I was about 350. Wow. So I was already in really good work capacity shape going into this prep. So I'm not too worried about this prep once I get back.
So question, they're always very secretive about the events. There's a deadlift ladder. Do you know if there's any other events or is just the deadlift ladder so far?
Oh, come on, Nick. Come on, buddy. You've gotten that same email where they say, hey, it might be any of these 30 things, but don't tell anybody.
Right.
But don't tell anybody.
Yeah,
so
like
it's
that.
basically the same thing as last year. It's
so there's some new stuff in there this year. There's some stuff on the disciplines list that we have not seen in a very long time. We're talking like Yokoholo. Like we're talking, it's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while. So it depending on which ones they pull from the disciplines be ready for list, basically, it's going to be a very interesting contest, and they're very good events.
That's cool, brother. Around the corner too,
Yeah, I'm not excited about that part, but it's there.
Yeah, it's coming up quick.
It is, but it's cool. They've got a lot more guys coming from different countries, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, why isn't Nick, John, you may know as well. I think Nick's a little bit closer to him, though. Why is Z not coming? He qualified at the OSG.
He will not take the vaccine.
We just, is that what it is? We just had him on the show last, a week ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, a week ago, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really? So he has to get vaccinated to come here?
Yeah. If you're not from the U.S., you have to be vaccinated to come into the U.S. You won't get vaccinated.
That's the weirdest thing because I got a message from Giants Live this morning. I got my COVID test done to travel to Leeds, like I was instructed to. And I got my results really quick. I was like, all right, cool, good to go. And then I get a message from Giants Live this morning saying, hey, you don't need a COVID test to come to the UK.
They changed the rules. They changed the rules, yeah.
Yeah,
I was like,
just got rid of all that.
Okay, yeah, I just saw that. And I was like, what the f is going on?
Mm-hmm.
But, well,
It's recently changed. Even the mandate in New York, they just changed that too. Like remember the basketball player Kyrie Irving, he couldn't play over here, and now they changed it where he could play here. Yeah, so things are kind of getting back to normal.
Yeah, I just hope that sucks for Z though. I wanted Z there. I enjoy competing against him. And I honestly don't think there's anyone else in Lithuania that can hold a candle to him at the moment. I could be wrong, but I think he is the best representative to come out of Lithuania.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I would have to agree with that. 100%. So, brother, you're clearly world elite. So for all of the up-and-comers, they love to hear bits and pieces of advice from a guy like you who's right in the middle of the thick of everything. So give us, for the up-and-comers, what piece of advice do you give to the up-and-comers?
Take your time. Take your time. That is huge. I did a lot very quickly, and I feel like I missed a lot of really good memories from that. But what's cool that's happening now, just because you asked that question, Gabriel Pena just threw a contest in Texas called Beerstone, which was a pro-am. That's where I went the week after the Arnold. A lot of people, the pro-ams didn't work because every pro wants the Brian Shaw treatment. They want to be flown. They don't want to pay to play. They don't want to work a third job to make shit happen. Well, guess what? You're not Brian Shaw. Don't set up a GoFundMe. Get the fuck over it. Let's go on. But these amateurs showed up, and it was cool because I got the opportunity to sit in a circle of them and just talk to them. They found out where I was hiding, and it was just flood and come talk. And I was like, okay. And so with the pro-am scene being available, you may come into this as an amateur. You're probably not going to win. You might win, but the odds are stacked against you if you've already got pros that are experienced in the class. But coming to that is going to be more experience than you're going to get than going to a seminar or watching World's Strongest Man or competing against other amateurs. So I would say take your time, but then I would also say go to a contest you know you can't win.
Yeah.
Go to a contest where the odds are against you.
That's very similar. We had Jerry Pritchett on Pritchett. He said the same thing. He said, listen, go compete and find out what your weaknesses are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, you don't know until you. So, like, before I got to Canada, I thought I was a good thrower. Hell yeah, I did that event. Didn't really train it. Took second on it by 2 seconds. Like, yeah, this is great. I get to Canada and meet Maxime Boudreau and Jeff Caron, and I can't throw for shit. But like, so that's the thing. Like, not taking your time, going to contests, or taking your time, going to contests you know you can't win, because you don't know what you suck at until you see these guys who are good at everything. And then it's like, damn, I thought I was good at this. No, you're just a medium-sized fish in a fucking puddle where there's a whole ocean out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no question about that. No question. So here, we're going to put you on the spot with this one. So
shit.
Don't brace yourself. It's not that bad. So give us the top 5 currently and rank them 1 through 5.
I can use any.
Actually, let's sweeten the pot. Let's sweeten the pot. Let's say, even though it's unknown events coming into Worlds, give us your prediction of Worlds right around the corner.
Okay, prediction. You want top 5 at Worlds?
Yep. And then I'm going to make you go back to clarifying top 5, currently and just in general. So we'll give you a little warm up with your prediction of top 5 before you start offending people by not giving them their spots in the top 5.
God, man. I hate questions like this. Yeah, right? Well, I hate questions like this because the depth chart is so deep.
Totally.
So picking 5, I'm going to go a little over 5 because I believe there's top 8 that at any day could be on the podium. I would say Tom Stoltman right off the bat. He has a good day, good luck. Tom Stoltman.
And this you're talking about, this is the world's prediction we're talking right now, correct?
This is top 8 World's Strongest Man. Tom Stoltman, Alexei Novikov, Evan Singleton, Trey Mitchell, Maxime Boudreau. I just butchered his last name. I would say Maxime Boudreau, myself, Adam Bishop, and Janashia.
Okay.
Right off the bat. Yeah, Janashia, right off the bat. Those are going to be my guys.
Okay, so now go top 5 currently and number them 1 through 5. So for anybody who doesn't get named, this is just a fun drill on a podcast. Don't start sending angry fucking emails or anything like that.
I would say top 5 in the world right now.
Yep.
That's rough.
And they have to be numbered ones. You can't just throw 5 names. You got to give them their spot on the totem.
You really put them on the spot, huh, John?
Let's go, baby.
So I'm overly analytical. So now I'm arguing with who's done the most contests, progressed the most. Okay, no, who's doing 2 contests a year but wins all the contests. But right off the bat, Brian Shaw, I believe, is number 1 in the world right now. I truly believe Brian is number 1. He is not at his peak anymore. He is still number 1 in the world. Brian Shaw, Tom Stoltman. Brian Shaw, Tom Stoltman, Evan Singleton.
List of giants so far.
Yeah. Brian Shaw, Tom Stoltman, Evan Singleton, Maxime. Who else do I toss for top 5? Honestly, I gotta say Trey Mitchell. I really do.
Okay.
A lot of people are gonna give me some shit for that, but Trey Mitchell is.
So what do you think Martins deserves his place in there?
Not yet, only because he's been out for so long. That was the issue I was having. I'm looking at guys that have been continuous threats over the years. Martins is always a threat, but I also don't want to rank guys right now that are suffering from an injury.
Yep. Good.
So
that's good. Yeah.
That's why I didn't say Brian for top 8 at Worlds, because his hamstring is a chronic issue with deadlift events, and we have a deadlift event.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I didn't want to say that because I like contingent upon is no. There's no contingency.
Yeah.
It's who's going to dog it, who's not.
Yeah.
So, but no, I didn't mention Martins because I don't know how bad his back is.
Yeah.
And the guy
just came back. I mean, he's doing well since he came back, but he had a pretty good break.
Well, he did, and the guy's got shit luck. I mean, he got hit by a car on a bike last year.
2 times.
Twice.
Yeah, and then he and Romar just did like a 150-mile electric bike ride to California's Strongest Man, and Romar was putting up on a story them renting it. I just put, please take care of him, like please take care of him. Like he's a magnet for bad luck. He just is.
Well, the thing about he's probably as talk about just human beings, he's probably one of the sweetest fucking human beings that any of us know. He's the nicest fucking guy. I mean, when we had him on the show, we asked him, we were talking about what do you want for the big picture? And I was asking him to kind of talk about what he wanted in general. And he says, I want everybody to love each other. That was his answer. I was like, Jesus Christ, if that doesn't display just a sweet-hearted individual, forget what sex they are. This is just a sweet person, No,
Martins, through his core, is a genuinely nice human being with no expectations for return, but he is a completely different man when he is competing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That is the thing. Like Martins, he's always kind. He is always kind, always very caring. But having been backstage with him, and I've seen him in the heat of the moment, he is very dialed in. He almost, I'm gonna use a phrase here so I can get me in trouble. A lot of us become almost Rain Man like when we're in warm ups. Like the pleasantries are gone. Like there's that element of respect where if a guy loads your bar, you gonna help him load his. But the pleasantries and the I hope your mom's okay. And, hey, how's your daughter doing? That shit's gone.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't exist. So Martins is where very nice, very great man on the outside, give you the shirt off his back even when he doesn't have one. When we go to compete, there's none of that exists for that man. And that's the way it's supposed to be. That's why he is so good. Yeah,
absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So we went through our top 5 standings. That was actually, I like the explanations behind it. That was good stuff, brother.
I think way too much.
Well, being analytic, it can be very helpful if you use it in the proper way. Breaking down technique, things like that. That's a huge help.
It definitely has been a huge help in that front, but it's hindered me a few times. I've tried to make something more complicated than it is. Like the stone. Like the stone at the Arnold. My coach, we walked out, we looked at it, we got like 5 minutes to look at it, couldn't touch it, and I'm looking at like degree of angle. Like, I'm trying to tell if the stone's going to stick to my shirt. Like, okay, I want to catch it this way because that slopes angle downward slightly, and it'll catch the groove and move the weight itself up my body. And I'm sitting there on the bench, and my coach, dude, he looked at me. He's like, look, you're not good at stones. And he's like, so don't think too much about this and just realize that whatever you're gonna do, you're just gonna have to manhandle this thing.
Yeah, just go lift up the fucking rock, man.
That's pretty much what it came. That's pretty much what it came down to, which is funny because my coach is, you wouldn't know about looking at him. He's a civil engineer. Like he designs building truss layouts and then looks over them for other people once they happen. So he is super analytical. And for him to look at me and just go, dude, like, you're just gonna have to go, whatever you do it as hard as you can, and we're gonna hope it works.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, when you dropped it and you picked it up a different way the next time, there's a specific way to pick that thing up. That was in a contest I did in 2009.
Yeah.
And Brian and I were the only two that like lifted it. We went to Oates' house 2 weeks before the contest, and there is literally a specific way to pick up that stone.
So there is, and the way I did it was the wrong way. So on,
that's normal for you.
Yes, right. So on Sunday, I met up with I flew out kind of early or mid-afternoon Sunday. So I went over to see some people at the expo, just kind of walk around a little bit. And I get there, I meet up with Simon, who is JF's coach or handler at most of his contests. And Simon said, JF said, good job with the stone. He was watching from his hospital bed. And I was like, that made my day. But then he said, JF also said something else. And I was like, what did JF say? Because JF doesn't sugarcoat anything for anyone. That's why I like him. As soon as I picked that stone up, apparently JF said, motherfucker picked it up backwards. that was JF's only comment. I was like 8 men have shouldered this thing since its like conception, whenever that fucking stone came to be. And thanks JF. Appreciate that one, big homie. But,
I love it. Right on, brother.
It worked, so I can't complain.
Absolutely. All right, brother, so think about this. We got a time machine. You can get in that time machine and you can dial in the time, the date. You can go back only to talk to yourself. Give yourself one piece of advice. How far back in your life do you go? What are you doing? And what piece of advice are you going to give the young version of yourself?
I would say I would go back to August 2009, 2010. I was a damn good football player, and my dreams, I wanted to go play Division I football. I wanted to go play in the NFL. That's what I wanted to do. And I have some foot issues. Nick and I have talked about them a little bit, and that midway through August of camp, I exploded through my foot and ripped a whole bunch of bone spurs loose, and my football career was just over. And I had always been an athlete my whole life, and football was my world. And when you're in high school, it's usually the extracurricular activities you do. That's how you identify.
Yep.
And I already wasn't a very good jock by standard terms. Like I didn't fit with a lot of those guys very well. I just always thought differently. And I just remember going into my doctor and him telling me that football was no longer an option, even if he does the fusions early. He's like, man, it's just not going to be a thing. I remember sitting there in that hospital room. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was like, my whole life plan, granted, at 16, you can only have so much of a life plan, but everything I had planned was gone.
You believed in it. That was your world. You believed that was your life. I mean, it's like you've got a whole new identity to find now.
Exactly. And I was never an academic stud. I struggled in school. I just, my brain didn't work those ways. It's just not something so all I had was being an athlete. Like, that's what I knew. Like, I loved to work. I loved to work harder than everybody else. Like, I was that kid. I ran harder than everyone else. Like, I was the first one to puke, the last one to puke. Like, I always worked hard. So when that happens, it's just kind of like, oh shit. So if I could go back, I would go back. I would go back to that moment where it happened and I fell and I was looking up at the sky. Didn't lose a keg this time though. But just go back, just go back and tell myself that life's going to get a whole lot harder, but it's gonna work out. Just keep doing what the fuck you're doing, and life's gonna pan out one way or another. That would have been something that kid needed to hear.
Brother, that's fucking great advice, not only for that kid, but for just about anybody who's facing some serious challenges. Because I mean, that's a really, really heavy hitting piece of advice in general. You know, I mean, that's life is always going to put you in some sort of a fucking chokehold. You just got to hold your breath for a little while and realize even if you do wake up and you did get knocked out, you're going to still get to your feet. You're going to carry on. And sometimes it's really hard to understand in those moments that life will carry on. So that's a great piece of advice, man. That's really powerful shit right there. Very cool.
Yeah, and again, in the grand scheme, it's not that big of a deal. But in the moment, like I said, where I wasn't a very good jock, I didn't fit with a lot of those guys to begin with. But at least I was a football player. Like I had a cohesive unit that I was a part of, and it's what I was. That was the difficult part. Like, and then it was just gone.
Yeah.
Like it was, and then it was like, well, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not going to, like, I wasn't going to go to a big college on academics. It wasn't going to be a thing for me. Like, it just wasn't. So then, life fell apart. But just, again, to go back and tell that kid, hey, man, just ball your fist up, take some swings. You're going to eat some of your own teeth, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Very cool, brother. Very fucking cool. I love it. Well, we've had you on the show here for quite a stretch, but I want to thank you very much. But before you go, I got one more question for you.
What you got?
Ultimately, you're just fucking tearing up the world in what you're doing in the sport of strongman. I mean, you're a world elite. No questions. You're one of the best in the world, and you're just getting started. You got a lot more to go. All you got to do is keep doing what you're doing, and you're just going to keep fucking pulling your way right to the top of the elite. So obviously that's what you're doing now. But when your physical time is done and you're actually dead and gone, what do you want to be remembered for? What do you want Bobby Thompson's legacy to be?
That's a rough one. I don't. This is going to sound weird, but you got to hear me out. I don't want to be remembered. I want to do a series of things in life that are subtle, and I want to do them for as many people as possible that slowly change the direction in which they're going so they move on to progress. Now, why I don't want to be remembered is because I don't want these people to realize that somebody else helped them do that. Because the moment a person realizes that, they start taking credit away from themselves and they start giving it to somebody else. Like, you see athletes do it all the time. They're like, Mike Tyson does it about his first boxing coach. Man, for some reason, that old guy knew. He just knew I was going to be a world champion, which is great. The man deserves that. But when you see Mike Tyson talk about that, he loses confidence in himself. I was like, so I don't want people to look back and go, yeah, Bobby did this for me, and because he did that, I went this way and did this. No, I don't want them to know that moment had anything to do, because they need to take full credit for their own accomplishments. They don't need to pass it on to somebody else. Because then the next time something hard happens, or they want to do something great, they're going to be waiting for somebody else to show them how to do it or to push them that direction. Yeah, I don't want to be remembered.
You kind of went the phase of teach a man how to fish. Have you ever heard that saying before?
Yeah.
So that's pretty deep. I understand exactly what you're trying to say. What you're saying.
Yeah. So you really want to affect as many people as you can, but you don't want them to know that you did it. You want them to basically move forward on their own steam. You kind of help them get past that tipping point, but they're off on their way because of you. But you don't really want to be remembered as, hey, he's the guy. You want to be just silently in the background. That's pretty fucking cool.
It's very
it's pretty noble.
Yeah. Noble, very noble. Nick has the correct word.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Because I was fucking searching. I was searching for a word. It just wasn't coming, man.
I have my uses.
It's the butterfly effect. That's all it is. It's a twisted version of the butterfly effect, but it is. A butterfly flaps its wings in Japan, and that causes a hurricane off the coast of Florida.
Yeah, we've already been in one of those.
Exactly, right? Yeah. That's exactly it. And that's I want to be my own butterfly effect. Just flap my little ass wings, and then some kid cures cancer or some shit.
Nice.
Brother, I got to tell you, you have been one hell of an entertaining guest. I got a fucking list of questions, and we just touched on a couple of them, which means you're going to have to come back.
Whatever you guys want me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, brother, I got to tell you, man, it's so fun having this show with you. You're entertaining. Your stories are great. And more importantly, you're really bringing a lot of helpful pearls of knowledge for the people listening to, which is really that's fucking awesome, brother. So, Nick and Ak, do you have anything else for the big man before we sign off for this time? Because he's going to be coming back for sure.
No, it's been a pleasure, man, and keep working on the keg toss.
Yeah. Work is definitely being done on the keg toss, man. I appreciate it, guys.
It's always great seeing you, Bobby. I'm sorry Gimli followed you all the way over to Dubai, but it's still fitting.
Nick, listen. He literally stabbed you and you're apologizing. It's like Chris Rock apologizing to Will Smith right now.
There. Yeah,
exactly.
There.
Ouch.
Yeah, exactly.
Ouch, you just got called Will Smith.
I mean, you just got called Chris Rock. Like, I'm just saying, I can afford the lawyers if I'm Will Smith. You can't undo a bitch slap on national television.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I love it. I fucking love it. Well, Bobby, thank you very much.
Good stuff.
For the record, I just want you to know that I don't think you're stocky or compact. I think you're beautiful, baby.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
We all do.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And I'm fucking loving the beard, dude. The beard is fucking rocking.
Man, I just took like 2 inches off it and I regret it.
Yeah, it's looking good, dude. You're looking like one of those guys where if there's some sort of an altercation, I'm gonna fucking run and get behind you really quick.
No, I got paid to do that for a long time.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, obviously that you got the skill, but even just the way you look, I'm still running behind you.
That's great, man.
Well, brother, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for all of your entertaining stories, and more importantly, some of the great, pearls of wisdom you dumped off here on the show. Because the show is all about inspiring and motivating the listeners to become the best versions of themselves. And brother, you really helped that a lot with this show, so we want to thank you very much. There you have it, everyone. There's another edition of Legends of Iron. We will see you next time. Legends of Iron is brought to you by Muscle Mints. Muscle Mints is the creator of Carnivore Pure Beef Protein Icing. Beef builds muscle, and Carnivore is the world's #1 selling beef protein. And don't forget to try our new Carnivore flavor, Rocket Pop.
Oh, damn. Whoa, this is it right here.
Wow, this is protein? Delicious.
This is good to be protein. Woo, we about to change the game with this one.
You're gonna